and you've got about, I'd say the baseline is 60% youth unemployment, but the public number is like 58, 59. So you got to figure youth unemployment's more like 70, 75%. 75% youth unemployment and fucking public debt at 98.5% of GDP. And this is the EU's poster child. This is their once poster child. Oh, and then every time I bring this up to the trendies, they're like, Spain is lovely. It's wonderful. They built all this solar architecture. Did you know all their energy comes from solar? I don't know how to, I am so jaded. I can't explain to people who on the weekend are working on their fucking rifle build. I can't explain to them how the BLM standoff with at the Bundy Ranch was not really a victory and we need to get politically organized. And I can't explain to the trendies how the Western resource recovery sector, which means energy, is being fucking destroyed by design. And I can't explain to anybody how we're being ramped into a post-human Borg beehive. This is not fucking Buck Rogers. This is not a television show. This is actually happening. You know, and you have Kurzweil mincing around at Google making documentaries about how the singularity is near, and we just need to submit to our own destruction. If I were a criminal and I said to you, I'm gonna blow up the world, you would probably want to arrest me and put me in some kind of a controlled environment. Meanwhile, these transhumanist singularity people can say, I want to blow up the world. We're going to turn the universe into gray goo. And that's perfectly fine. Because it dovetails with the people who own and control the planet you live on's aspirations of living forever. And it's like the oldest, I mean, it's like the oldest thing in the book. Is insane, rich, powerful people wanting to live forever so that they can dominate. You know, they're totally dominating everyone, and the only cherry you can put on that is being able to live forever and ascending to godhood. And transhumanism has emerged. Whether or not it's falderall today does not mean that it's not going to become a dominant philosophy. It has become the dominant philosophy. Life extension technology is not a myth or fictional. The idea of being able to seize control of our biological... I mean, God forbid people do figure out a way to actually get, like, the human's consciousness into a box, basically. Because if the day that you can do that, I can simply, like, look at Tupac Shakur's hologram dancing around on stage. You want to talk about slavery? Imagine being a slave long after you're dead. I was just speaking about how they've corrupted Nietzsche and Plato and all this shit, right? And how they're parasitizers. Imagine your consciousness, but you feel it. Maybe you feel them all. Maybe it's some kind of soul technology. It's the most demonic thing you could possibly think of, right? See, I'm a quantum dualist. I believe the universe is like a holographic fractal in n-dimensional non-Euclidean space. I really do kind of get a sense that there is an underlying unified field. Everything is energy vibrating at different frequencies, you know. There is this one signal, you know, and then there's the manifest, there's the myriad, there's the music of the spheres, the myriad manifestations. The universe really isn't in a grain of sand, though. It's like a holographic fractal. Imagine your consciousness could be put into a box, but that you would experience that consciousness all the same. Even though your body and your mind your brain, your physical being had long since been destroyed, your mind it was possible to copy you and put you in multiple boxes. And let's just say let's just call it John Smith. Let's say your name's John Smith. And we take your consciousness and we put it into a box. And then we copy your consciousness 1 billion times and we use your consciousness to drive all the mining robots. And for 1 billion years, you have to experience... You're a slave for 1 billion years. You're a slave with 50 billion hands for 1 billion years. As you live forever like some god, but you toil ceaselessly. and all you're able to do is mine. Imagine being a slave that is not allowed to die. Forget the multi-consciousness concept for a moment. I just wanted to give you a concept of like a real Chinese hell, like a new Chinese hell. Imagine being the operating system for a class of robots used to do nothing but mining or some other task like this, or let's say waste disposal, nuclear waste disposal, you know. And that's all you do for 1 billion years is dispose of waste. But you're immortal. You're not allowed to die, though, because you're owned by the company, and you're simply you know, flashed into new droids as they come off the line. Now, forget about yourself and think about everybody. Like, everybody's consciousness being mineable. They already data mine you. Imagine your consciousness being mined and put into a box. And then forget that you actually have to experience it, and just imagine your consciousness like another life form, like it would be like your child, basically. It's like they'd be stealing your children and consigning them to, you know, hard labor. Because in the end, it may be, it's impossible. Ultimately, you can have an extremely rich database architecture and biological. You can have Artilex. I'm not going to explain what an Artilex is. Just if you understand, look it up or figure it out and try to understand what I'm saying. You can have an extremely complex Artilect based on the biggest database possible that seems human, but artificial intelligence is still artificial. So in the long run, it may be a hell of a lot easier to just take people and put their brain into a box and put the box in a droid. You know what I mean? And imagine being a slave who's not allowed to die, who wants to eat a strawberry sundae, but who knows it could not digest a strawberry sundae and it would make you terribly sick. It might even kill you. And the only thing you can eat is like some kind of rudimentary protein paste that's disgusting and smells horrible, and yet you're extremely hungry and it's all you can eat. And it's the only thing that you can actually digest. Imagine being a slave who's not allowed to die, who has to go back for upgrades and replacement parts. Imagine a world, I mean, how does the world work now? Rich people have all the nicest toys, right? Well, how the hell do you think that's how do you think it's gonna pan out when you start a biological cybernetics arms race, where in order to keep up with the Joneses, you gotta have the latest computer installed in your body? You know what I mean? Like, we're already screwed up. We have way too much technology for how civilized our culture is. See, I went way beyond what I was gonna say. Anyway, the BLM standoff, great success, but don't break your arms patting yourselves on the back, because while it was a nice PR stunt, we didn't really use it for anything. Not yet, anyway. Hopefully we will, but as far as I can tell, we're not going to really ameliorate the fucking problem as a result of this. Now, that's a huge issue, and whether we're talking... I mean, just look at it. People can't even, like, people in the gold and silver community can't figure out the gold flows. It's a giant lease in, lease out, as the people who actually own the planet that you live on move their fucking hard assets, their precious metals, to their new main base. Oh, and by the way, those public fucking data figures, as like the hardcore public data figures from the independent research people, as big as those numbers are, they're masking huge fucking volumes off the books, unreported. You know, and then we're not even talking about the real gold hoards, the real off-the-book gold hoards that are maintained by the cartel. I mean, so you've got they've got massive off-the-book hoards of precious metals that they use to underwrite the volume on their hologram. How do you think they set up the COMEX LBMA? And this is how stupid people are. They're like, yes, Singapore and the SGE and oh yes, and China, oh they're going to create real gold markets, not like these Western markets. I mean, these people are so stupid. They literally compile and regurgitate the enemy's programming. In other words, when you look at these gold flows, and this is the average person's analysis of these gold flows, they're like, yes, us Westerners, we sure are stupid, and boy, those Chiners, they sure are smart when it comes to investing. Okay, the average person in China ain't got no place else to put their fucking savings, and B, the West has been systematically programmed over a long period of time to think debt is money, to believe in the debt hologram. So I don't want to hear that shit. And then, you know, finally, I mean, there is the sense that this is all by design, of course. You know what I mean? As the West is dismantled and the new bases are built up, it's basically 1950 in China. You know what I mean? And then the next cycle, the next great turning, when they're ready to do to the Chinese what they're doing to us right now, what they did to Britain a handful of decades ago, when they're ready to do to the Chiners what they're doing to us right now, there is no next Chinese people, because the next Chinese people is robots. Wake up.
Aborted babies incinerated to heat UK hospitals. Soylent Green, ladies and gentlemen, is made out of people.
But now children are literally being passed through the furnace in order to fuel hospitals in the UK. They're being sacrificed on the altar of efficiency and prosperity.
What is the secret of Soylent Green?
The powdered flesh from dead babies. Some people believe they can cure disease.
Because of its enormous popularity, Soylent Green is in short supply. Remember, Tuesday is Soylent Green Day.
The supply of Soylent Green has been exhausted. You must evacuate the area. Today is Tuesday!
The federal court ruled that the shareholders of PepsiCo, big Bilderberg Group company, are not allowed to know what they're using the baby parts for in the flavoring, but we already know. So enjoy the flavor.
We're going to get the real solution, which is going to be a combination of death panels and sales taxes.
I'm consistently pro-death. I'm for assisted suicide. I'm for regular suicide. I'm for whatever gets the freeway moving.
Is spending $1 million on that last 3 months of life for that patient, would it be better not to lay off those 10 teachers and to make that trade-off in medical costs? But that's called the death panel, and you're not supposed to have that discussion.
They told me to say that they were sorry, but that you had become unreliable.
Is this the kind of society that you want to live in? Any kind of society that would do this to its children will do it to its senior citizens. It will do it to its dissidents. That kind of society will also eventually turn on its police, on its army, on its prison guards, on the quislings and the collaborators who make that possible. This is nothing but a suicide cult.
The scoops are on their way. The scoops are on their way. I repeat, the scoops are on their way.
You will find out why Soylent Green means life. You will find out why Soylent Green means death.
We gotta stop them!
What is the secret of Soylent Green?
Soylent Green is people!
Next thing they'll be breeding us like cattle for food. You gotta tell them.